Welcome to I'm Spiritual But, starring the award-winning author and actress Anne Scottlin and globally renowned speaker and award-winning author Dr. Roger Leslie. I'm Spiritual But is a one-of-a-kind talk show about inclusive spirituality for religious and non-religious people alike. It's our vision to inspire everyone to discover their own unique spiritual experience. Email us at hello@imspiritualbut.com. We'd love to hear from you, or if you have a guest to recommend for the show. Thank you to USA Global TV, to our sponsors, and to all of you for spreading the word. And now, Anne Scottlin and Dr. Roger Leslie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to I'm Spiritual But. I'm so glad you joined us here again today. Hi, Roger.
Hey, Ann, how are you today?
I am great. How are you doing?
Everything is just phenomenal. Things move so quickly and things grow so exponentially. I really want to encourage people who are listening and viewing to just follow that path and realize that whatever's happening in their life, even if at first they judge it as might not be the best thing, Spirit is leading them in a good direction. Pay attention and follow through.
Amazing. That is so beautiful. I've had some really amazing and inspirational conversations with people this week about the show and also just about spirituality in general. And it's just so beautiful when you bring up this conversation of inclusive spirituality. People light up. I want to talk about that. That sounds amazing. And I was like, isn't it beautiful? Again, as always, looking for what we have in common as souls, as opposed to what makes us all different. We've got plenty of that. So how do we find what resonates within? And do you want to remind people again what our show is about?
So, the purpose of this show is to reflect the light of every viewer so that they live their dreams more fully and to trust their own spiritual path more profoundly.
That's amazing. Just so beautiful. And so, what does this show mean to you? Just for people who are joining now, and maybe this is your first time, we just want to talk a little bit more about what was the purpose behind the show and what is it for you, Roger?
It's interesting, Anne, that this opportunity to do this show just showed up. It was never in my vision to do a show, to be a host, because I have so many roles that I already fulfill as a writer and publisher and editor. But something told me when you interviewed me for your other podcast and you spoke to me afterwards and said, I want to do a spiritual show. Would you do it with me? I knew just to say yes. And so to me, this show is all about saying yes and just knowing that life is bringing us the opportunities that we're seeking, whether we're goal setters and we're clear about what we want, whether we have a vision or a mission, or whether we're just sort of living day to day, determining how things happen. This show to me is about the possibilities that everybody in the world can help us, to show us a way, to give us an idea that we hadn't thought of before, that everyone is an angel guiding us along our spiritual path.
Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much.
How about for you, Anne? What is this show for you?
This show for me is about connecting to our global family and starting a new global conversation around spirituality, inclusive spirituality, in a place where everyone is welcome and accepted. There's no judgment or criticism as far as we can help it, although we're human. And whether people are religious or not religious, they can come and listen and comment. And mentioning that, we want to create this show really for you, the listener, and especially the live listener. So please know that you can, if you're joining us live right now, you can leave us comments and questions. So go ahead and enter those into the chat and we will respond to you if we can. We'd love to hear from you and get to know some of our regular viewers and listeners. So please do that. And then also do us a favor as we work to bring this good message to the people around us and the world. Please do like and subscribe to our channel to keep this coming. And if you know someone who's struggling emotionally or spiritually right now, someone who's having a hard time, maybe share this with them, because a lot of people, when we don't always feel welcomed by our environment, our community. Maybe we haven't quite found our tribe. It's wonderful to find a place where we can openly talk about spirituality and the comforts it can bring us. Because I think that's a big reason why a lot of people look to spirituality, don't you, Roger?
Absolutely. I think that with spirituality, there's this sense of innate awareness that there's something more, that, what we think and what we feel are valid and important. But there's another element to all of it that, for me at least, gives me a sense of purpose beyond
Yeah.
how I feel about something, beyond what I learn intellectually. There's just an intuitive awareness that something bigger is going on. And to me, one of the most exciting elements of living this life is figuring out what is underneath it all. Where is it all coming from? Where is it all taking me? And how do we all fit together?
I love it. That's absolutely amazing. So let's see what else we have here, and then we're going to get right to it. I am jumping over to my notes to make sure that I have included everything. And Roger, while we're doing that, just share one thing that has really boosted you spiritually this week. I know one of the things we talk about on this show is, like, last week we had the amazing Vita Como on. And she said, in the sweetest sense and laughingly, she's like, I just have a different relationship with spirituality than Roger. Like, Roger actually talks to God. So she's like, so what? It's just different. So because you do have that special relationship and your daily meditations, anything special that you've received this week spiritually?
So I think it's interesting that I have in the past considered struggle something I'm trying to overcome. Like I used to have this delusion that I was going to be able to align everything in my life so spiritually that I would not feel conflict, that I would not feel disconnected from certain things or certain ideas, and that I would just always be in this meditative, blissful state of being aware and grateful and joyful every second. Consistently throughout my life, though, something moves me into bigger territory. And when I get to that bigger spiritual territory, I get uncomfortable because it's requiring action and saying, you've got to do something different, Raj. This is not working anymore. So sometimes what happened and what worked beautifully for one stage, once I grow past that, I need to learn a new set of rules. And that's happened to me this week. I was feeling frustrated with certain things that were happening professionally. And I just thought, I've been working on this and I'm not getting the results. I don't know what I'm doing that I could be doing differently. And I kept taking it into prayer and kept exploring it spiritually. And the result was, Roger, you are not meant to do this alone. Reach out and find somebody who is an expert at the part that you don't know. You will be answering a prayer for them by asking them to support you so that together you can work to create your vision. We're never doing it alone. We just don't have enough resources within us to handle and then execute all of it to the level of excellence we want. That's why we're in a world with other people. And that was the big takeaway I got this week.
I love that so much. And, one of the things that I always think about, something that Vita shared last week, and I'm just going to say it again because I loved it so much, Vita Como, which was about the spokes on the wheel. And, we're all all human souls are, like different spokes of the wheel. We're all spiritual. If you feel it, that is what it is for you. And we all feel so far apart. So the end of the spokes of the wheel, out in the round part of the wheel, we're really far apart. But as we come closer in to spiritual experience, we're not alone. And another thing that's beautiful that I've been doing recently is when I meditate, thinking about how many other people in the world are meditating or praying at that same moment. And it just brings so much warmth to me. Just think, out of almost 8 billion people, how many people are spiritually sinking in any given moment? And just feeling that support instead of, sometimes it's so easy for us to feel isolated.
Yes.
And something else you said, I'm going to have a drink, sorry, was about how the change over time of what is working for you spiritually or not. So I love that because I've had the same experience. in times where I was religious or not religious, in times where I was, going through deep meditations as opposed to not meditating. But finding in those days and moments where the value was, and knowing it was okay if it changed. That was the biggest relief for me, was when I realized that as an individual human with an individual personality, that, that I'm changing and evolving every day myself, that my spirituality can also do that. And it's not a right or wrong answer. It's just between you and the divine, and knowing when, wow, this has really been helpful, but it's just not resonating anymore, or I'm just not able to use this tool to get into meditation the way I used to. So that is just one of the reasons that I find this show so exciting, is because we also get to embrace our fluidity as spiritual beings, and we don't have to always just be stuck in one place.
Precisely. What you just shared reminds me of a quotation I put in one of my books. The minute you think you're enlightened, you're not. And I think for me, what that means is when I think I finally get it at one spiritual level, that automatically promotes me to the next level. It's just like, once you master a certain grade level, it's wonderful that you can master that grade level, but you don't want to stay in that grade level and keep repeating the same grade that you've already mastered. Of course, it's time to move on to bigger lessons, deeper lessons. And I think that same thing is true for spirituality. So when we get to a point where we feel like, wow, I think I've got this now, automatically and naturally, we move up to another stratosphere, another spiritual realm, another spiritual level, and then the lessons start over. But the nice thing about it is we take with us the lessons we've learned before then. So it's not like we're starting from scratch. It's not like, oh, I don't know anything. We move through to the next levels of learning or spiritual development or whatever it is that we're doing for growth, bringing with us all the wisdom and knowledge that we've learned in the past. And to me, that's why life gets easier as we get older. And that's why we get more naturally confident as we get older, because we have so much more in our foundation to support us and hold us up and show us, yes, the patterns of how this works. That's the scientific element of it. Everything has a specific law and pattern. Now use those laws and patterns to go bigger, to go wider, to reach more people, to learn something more profound and share that with the world as well.
I absolutely love that. And on that note, we are going to welcome our special guest today. I am so excited to have her here. Her name is Mary Kress. She's a spiritual intuitive and energy healer. I've worked with Mary, and she's just such a bright light and such a beautiful soul that I just can't wait to have her share with us comfort and healing, and how, when you feel like I'm spiritual, but my soul just doesn't feel whole. So I've asked her if she will come and talk about that to us today. I'm going to read her bio for you real quick. Again, if you're just joining, please like and subscribe, and send in your comments. They're live, and we'd love to respond to them. So Mary Kress is the founder of the Intuitive Institute and Regeneration Arts, and she's a keynote speaker. She's written on life extension and physical immortality, which I love to talk about that for 3 decades. She's coached thousands of people who are living proof that you can heal the body, mind, and soul, which I just love. And her philosophy is to challenge conventional limited thinking with intuitive insight and genuine integrity. And I'm super excited to welcome Mary to the show from Hawaii. We're at 6 a.m.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So lovely to see you today. And thank you for getting up so early to join us. We just so appreciate it.
Well, actually, it was a bonus because I realized it was 5 hours now, not 6. So it was actually perfect.
Oh, perfect.
So I actually got a bonus hour. I was like, oh, look at that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Roger, I think you had a question for Mary.
Hi, Mary. Nice to have you on the show.
Hi, Roger. Thank you I'm so grateful to be here. I'm honored to be with you both.
Thank you. So to start things off, could you share with the viewers a little bit about your spiritual life and how it brought you to where you are right now?
I love this platform because it's actually one of my favorite topics. I was raised Catholic with the Sicilian parents, and everything was very constricted. And there I was as a little child, being a clairvoyant and able to speak and hear people that have passed or knew that they were passing before. So it was quite interesting to grow up under that umbrella of religion, where it wasn't embraced. It was actually it was actually feared. So it was a lot of pushing it away for many years. I didn't embrace it. I was wanting to get rid of it. And it wasn't until I finally had my experience of helping somebody who had lost their child
Hmm.
that I saw how this helps, how it helps put people at ease when they no longer are able to speak to their loved ones, or if somebody dies in an accident, or even, if it's a natural death. It's not usually something we understand, that they're in a better place. We hear it, but we don't know it until we actually hear them saying it to us. So I realized what a gift this was from that time on. And it's morphed. I've gone from being a clairvoyant and a psychic to a medical intuitive to now being guided by almost daily Saint Germain and other star seeds and other ascendant masters, where I'm told to help people with trauma, because we're in a world today that has no hope. And so that's how the short story of how I get to where I am right now.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And Anne, did you want to share Mary's quotation at this
Yes,
point?
thank you. So Mary shared a beautiful quotation. As you know, we always have a quotation from our special guest, and I love the one she chose by Rumi, one of my favorite authors. The wound is the place where the light enters you. The wound is the place where the light enters you.
So, Mary, how has this particular quotation shifted or changed your spiritual journey?
That quotation tells me that we are not meant to fear challenges or pain in our lives, that through this we can find grace, we can find light. We just need to shift a little bit. We need to learn how to do that rather than push it away or be resistant to it, and welcoming the challenges and knowing that within that there's a gift.
That's so beautiful. I just love that. Just incredibly deep and meaningful. And especially when people are suffering, which, so many people are, as you said, it's a world that needs love and needs healing. So let me ask you this, Mary. I've worked with you. It's so exciting to talk about inclusive spirituality with someone who has such a wide view on it and has so many personal and spiritual experiences. So let me ask you this: as spiritual seekers, whether we're religious or not religious, what have you found that are areas of strength and wisdom that we could be tapping into, but we sometimes overlook?
Ourselves.
Mm.
God is within us. The Holy Spirit was put within us. That's what our solar plex is. That's where we can shed our own and come back to ourselves and connect. It is not that God or wisdom is outside of us, but it is within us. And if we learn to love ourselves, accept ourselves, we then learn to trust ourselves, because we can, not that monkey mind, but we can hear when something, or what do we call it? The gut feeling, where it's like, oh, this feels good, or this doesn't really feel right to me. Learning to trust yourself and understanding that it isn't outside of us. Religion teaches us that we have to look outside. We have to look to them. It's only through them that we can find spiritual peace and salvation. And it's not true. God is our Father, and that means that He's given us, in this life when we incarnate, He's given us free will.
Mm-hmm.
And in that free will, it's just like when you leave home for college and your father's there, and if you need him, he's a phone call away. But he doesn't go off with you. He gives you the ability. He got you to a certain point in your life, and he gave you the ability and the gifts and the know-how of how to run your life. But if you need him, you call upon him at any time. And that's what God gives us, this gift where we have to call within ourselves, and we have to search within ourselves to know who we are and why we're here and how we can serve others. It's not about just the church or just, taking for ourselves. It's about finding that peace and love within ourselves and how we can share it. Did you ever give step to somebody without any expectations or help somebody and realize how good it makes you feel?
Mm-hmm.
That's the life of service. That's what we're here for. I mean, God came and taught us all these beautiful things. And today it's been a little bit manipulated by man and the human experience and what we're trying to get out of it and how we can use it to fit our own benefit. So there's a lot of confusion around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe the long and short answer was find it within yourself.
I love that so much.
So, Mary, I have a friend who had an interesting series of experiences in that within a span of less than a year, 3 people she knew died. And with each of those people, she ended up being the only person in the room with them when they made their transition. And the first 2 times it happened, she was just sort of curious but confused. And the third time it happened, the nurse, this was in a hospital, the nurse walked in. And when my friend mentioned to the nurse that this is the third time this happened, the nurse said, "You realize that they chose you to be there to make this transition." And one thing we haven't touched on much yet on the show is the similarity and the parallels between science and spirituality. Are you finding that people with a science background are becoming more comfortable with your gifts and are able to acknowledge what you do as a valid element of healing or the death process or the birth process? Are you getting better feedback over the years, more support from the science community who can respect what you do?
That's a great question. And although your friend may not realize it, it probably is one of her necessary gifts that she needs to explore. It's something that I believe is one of the most blessed gifts to have, to be able to help somebody transition to the other side. It's kind of an interesting subject for me because I have been doing this for many years and actually became a death doula years ago just to be able to assist people through this process. And everything is about certification and education today. And at one point, I was a hospice nurse and quit that because I realized that we don't embrace the gift of death, and we look at it as we're fearing it. We're fearing where we're going and what's going to happen to us next. And mainstream medicine has not embraced this because it goes against where we are today. Although there are some doctors, I believe, that are now opening to working with death doulas and suggesting that the emotional part of the acceptance that needs to happen before you pass is a beautiful place to find that support and love outside of the hospice nurse or outside of your family members or outside of the doctor, where they're clinical and meant to be giving you that type of advice. So I do hope that it changes, because although we miss our loved ones when they pass, the truth is we're going to a better place. And we have to know that for them. We have to let them pass with that grace and know that they're going to the other side and they're in a better place. They're not suffering anymore. And this life was, pre-written. We came, we did what we meant to do, and we're done. And to know that we'll meet again.
That's amazing. Just beautiful too. And how amazing that you became a death doula to give people that hope and comfort through that process, just eliminating the fear and bringing in the joy, truly, which is so amazing. So some of the other work you do, I know you work a lot with healing, Tell us a little bit more about some of the healing you've been doing around trauma, and what does that look like if someone has never worked with, an intuitive or a healer? Tell us a little bit more, just since some people may have no idea.
Well, I'm divinely guided, and I'm always respecting what's needed in this world. And I thought it was the death doula for a couple of years, and I worked with people, and I'm still hoping one day to open a center for people to come and to find that peace within their last days with their family, and that they can transition, because we're all going to die. It's just a matter of when. And so no sense of fearing it. But then in the years past now, I've seen so much trauma and so much suicide that I feel and have been guided to work with people with trauma. And so I have studied now, I just took my second level of trauma counselor so that I can help people, and that I can help people in the pain that they're in. We don't understand how to handle the challenges that life throws us. It's not a life skill that we're taught, unfortunately. So we are all faced with trauma and traumatic events in our life. And if you haven't yet, it's coming. So we might as well learn the tools on how to embrace that, how to get through it and not let it break us. And you see more and more people losing hope and being unhappy. So for me, I personally work with people to learn how to love themselves, how to disengage the grip that trauma has on their heart, and to find their way back to life by self-care, by releasing the energy that's around the fear or the pain that they're holding on to, and to reestablish their life patterns again, to get them back into fulfillment. I recently worked with a woman whose husband had, actually her fiance had passed away. He committed suicide, and she led herself to a point where she was sick, almost deathly ill, and could not help herself to stop drinking, to stop eating, to isolate. And she was going down the path to join her fiance. And so at first we channeled her fiance, and he came in and he told her everything he wanted for her and why he did it, so that she would release herself from the accountability and understand that it was his choice, not hers, and it was nothing she did. And then we slowly began with energy work to release the pain around the event, and then find her worth again, so that every day she got up to take care of herself, to do something outside of her normal realm, or what became her normal realm, to come back to life. And she's now doing so well. She lost 65 pounds. She takes care of herself every day. She eats well. She stopped drinking. She stopped taking prescription drugs. She is now opening her 4th restaurant, and she's doing amazing. She's healthier. Her diabetes is under control, and she's just a happy person. She's even talking about dating again. And it just warms my heart to see the way we can walk ourselves out of a situation that we didn't expect, but has happened.
That's beautiful.
I love that. And I also noticed that on the flip side of that, I can speak from my own experience. I walked myself into trauma by feeling the conflict that I did as a boy, where I didn't feel I fit into the religion that I was raised with. So I'm wondering if you could share with viewers, if someone is not happy where they are spiritually or with the religion they were raised with, but they don't really know how to start the journey or how to start this new leg of the journey to explore and figure out for themselves, how can someone begin who's never tried it before but are curious to find something more, or something that might be a better fit for them?
That's a tough one, Roger. I'm going to have a lot of people angry at me with this one.
How about just a first step?
No,
Maybe just
I love
the first
it.
step.
I actually love it, because it's one of my biggest things here. There's a local church here that I absolutely love, because they give back to the community, and I volunteer there. But when they start talking about things, when they start using religion to their advantage, or to use the word of God to promote people to give them more money, or so that they could do this or that, and I think to myself, this doesn't feel right. So I think part of it is really knowing yourself, is understanding that God is not in a church. He's not in the faith that you're practicing. He's in you, how you act. We're here to be relational beings. We're here to love one another, to serve one another, to give back. And within that, you find that spiritual gift. And I was raised Catholic. I went through Catholic school all through university. And when I first started channeling star beings, I said, is this God? Is this okay? And I was scared to death, thinking, am I channeling something that's evil or wrong? And then I realized, and I heard God speak to me, and he said, do you honestly think I only created Earth? And I thought, oh, that's ridiculous. Of course I don't think that. And it was the same thing about being in a certain religion. When a religion tells you that you have to be or conform or be in their box so that they feel comfortable with your actions, you realize that is not God. God is not small. God is love. It's infinite love. And that's what we are. We're infinite love. And anything that constricts us, we realize we need to maybe push away and look within ourselves and ask ourselves, how do I connect with God? I meditate. I speak with God every day like he's my friend. I don't say prayers anymore. I speak with him and I talk to him and I tell him what I need. And not just when I need him, but I thank him for everything. I'm grateful for everything I have. And when I'm not, I'm reminded so quickly. The other day I was complaining about something. We were having storms and I was complaining about this or that. And I was drinking tea and I saw my little tea bag. It said, gratitude is the key to prosperity. And I thought, oh, so here I am complaining about something I don't like. But if I want to change it, I need to be grateful for where I am. And that's the most important part. Digging into where you are right now to find what's right, not what's wrong, but what's working in your life. And then figuring out how you can help to make that better. And not just yourself, but others. So I believe that God is there for us and when we need him, and we have to be patient with his answers. It's not always a quick response, and it's not always a response that we believe should be. So we have to accept that maybe he knows what's better for us. Connecting with our higher self, and what that means is being able to tune inward and find your soul, your soul, which is your essence of God, is where you find the real answer. So if something doesn't feel right with you within religion, explore others. It's not about one size fits all here. Actually, it is about one size fits all. It's not about only going to go to heaven if you are this or that. There's no way a monk in Tibet who's praying every day for world peace would not get into the kingdom of God because he doesn't believe in this or that. So we understand that we have to find our path and explore it. When I was 18, I went to an all-faith seminary in New York City because I wanted to learn everything about religion, because I knew God was out there, and it wasn't just in that box of Christianity. It wasn't about making me feel shameful and guilty. It was about finding him within myself and acting as if I am God and you are God, and how we treat each other accordingly.
Thank you so much, Mary. That just touches my heart so much. And just reminding us that we all have a place, and finding within what's working. And that's one of the reasons for this show too. I'm Spiritual But is seeing what's working for others and finding your own personal relationship with the divine. Doesn't necessarily have to be what someone tells you. If something formal is working for you and you love the religion you're in, then amazing. That's a gift of God too. Like that He's given you that connection. We have some wonderful viewer comments. I'd like to go through and read some of those. People have been tuning in from all around different places, including Pushchild from Kenya, I believe, says, Mary, I have a call of helping kids, those who are needy and poor. To me, growing up on the street of Kampala, after the death of both my parents, HIV, that HRT is too heavy for me, and advice for me on how I can get you. I mean, maybe he's talking about how to connect with you, which is thank you so much, Push Child. And yes, so you absolutely can get in touch with Mary. She has her website is in the notes, and you can reach out and contact her, send her an email there. And I'm so excited about your passion for taking care of kids and those who are poor and needy. What a beautiful gift and what a beautiful mission. And then we have another one. Let's see. Anne Margaret says, I love that concept that God isn't in church or your religion, but he's in you or us. What a way to think. I wish more people could believe this way. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Anne Margaret. Let's see. We've got another one here from Heather Grant. I agree. Learning to look within ourselves is an important component. All we've got is ourselves sometimes, which is beautiful because you don't necessarily need always to have support from the outside. We have support in our life, but sometimes in those dark moments, and we've all been there, I know Roger, Mary, me, when you know you can go within and find peace and consolation and comfort, and you don't have to wait until you can go to your place of worship, or you can actually get that now. Let's see. All right. So thank you for all of those. Push Child, with God, all things are possible, which I absolutely love. And he said that your story is so touching. So appreciate that.
And Mary, so is your quotation. The quotation that you shared with us is so touching. Once again, it is the wound is the place where the light enters you. And I think if anything I've learned from this experience of speaking to you today is to remind myself that when I feel out of sorts, when I feel a sense of pain, that's the wound that is opening me to new light.
Yes.
Is that your experience of it too?
It is. It is the wound coming in to tell us, it's still really raw. And then checking in with yourself, right? And saying, what do I need here? What's going to serve me best here? What can I do to make this better, to feel safe again? And so the wound shows up, and it shows up sometimes until we're completely healed. And then another one shows up. This is just one day, one school day after another. And so being able to check in with yourself and ask yourself, what do I need? Is finding your own self within that trauma or within that pain, and realizing that you can give yourself permission to give yourself what you need. That's the biggest thing we have as humans, allowing ourselves to receive the love and the support, and putting ourselves out there, asking for what we need, and not worrying about how other people perceive us. And if we did that, people, especially with suicidal tendencies, and you see more and more of that today, if we didn't worry about what other people thought of us and our weakness, we would probably reach out and they would not feel the pain of your loss. So reach out. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Love is abundantly around you, and it's there for all of us to support. And I love that.
And that reminds me so much of the quote from Shakespeare, to thine own self be true.
Yes.
What is within you that you can ask, instead of what have I done wrong, or where do people think I've gone wrong? What is it that I need? What is it that I need? Do I need support from others? Do I need to work with someone amazing like Mary? Do I need to get back into my meditation and just connect and ask? And I don't know if I shared this on the show before or not, but 2023 for me is the year of asking spiritually, asking personally, asking in business. Ask, because the universe is so abundant and there's so much there for us. And sometimes it's just asking what to ask for.
And similarly, I've learned a lesson that I really appreciate. Sometimes if I'm asking questions and I'm frustrated and don't feel a sense of momentum toward an answer, I'm probably asking the wrong question. Instead of asking questions like, well, what's wrong with me? Or why didn't this work? Or what do I need to do different? It might be that I could just reframe the question in such as, what am I to learn here? What can I take from this experience so I can move past it? What do I want to do next? Just changing the question, asking a different question, sometimes, at least for me, changes the dynamic of how I'm thinking about everything. And then suddenly what seemed like a problem now seems like the momentum that's leading me to the solution.
That is so perfectly said, Roger. It's exactly one of my first things I work with people and tell them, self-talk. How you speak to yourself is how you feel about yourself. If you can love yourself and be compassionate and be gentle and graceful, and the way you ask yourself those questions, I couldn't have put it better. So thank you for sharing that.
That is so beautiful. So we have just a couple more minutes and we might go just a little longer today. Again, thanking Mary so much for being with us here from Hawaii at 5 or 6 in the morning or whatever it is over there.
It's 7:40. It's not too bad.
Yay. So just so wonderful to have you here. And I just love you so much. And this is not even remotely enough time. So if you will do us the favor, we will have to have you back and dig even a little deeper. But if you had one thing to share with people before we go over and above what you've already shared, what might that be? What's on your heart?
Be gentle with yourself. We're in a time right now that there's a lot of fear in this world and a lot of concern for the future. Just live in the moment, live in the present. Be mindful of how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others. Be grateful for what you do have, knowing that everything is already written. So do your very best to be your very best. And that means being kind to yourself, loving others, not worrying about so much of how the things are going to turn out. And don't get caught up in the fear of the world. Right now, it's just what's happening, and it's just a little bit of a game that the world plays with us. So acknowledge your challenges, reach out if you need help. People are there to help you and support you, and they love you more than you realize.
That's so true. And I mentioned asking, but also being willing to receive. I know even in my own experience, I'm kind of this type A firstborn Capricorn, whatever. And, I want to do it all myself and I want to just power on. And even if my soul is suffering or my heart is broken and just instead just realizing, I remember there was a time where I actually said to myself, I need to receive the love that people are trying to give me. I was going through a hard time or, I'd lived with chronic pain. So family members, strangers, friends, people who wanted to give me love, or when I went through a divorce, people who wanted to encourage and support me. And I kind of wanted to be tough. I felt that somehow receiving, really internalizing, really letting their love and kindness land in me somehow meant that I was falling apart. As opposed to that the universe was sending me an amazing and brilliant and beautiful gift. And it is a choice. It is a choice to accept the love. And it is surprising how much people do love us. Even people we might be shocked about love us and care for us if we're willing to reach out. And of course, reaching out to the divine as well. So thank you so much again for being here and for sharing this time with us. I know you've encouraged a lot of people today with what you've shared, and I definitely look forward to having you here again.
I would love that.
That would be amazing. And for those of you watching, please check out Mary's information in the notes, also ours. You can jump on our website if you want to reach out to us. That's imspiritualbut.com. No apostrophe. Reach out to us there. Also, if you have a favorite speaker that you would like to recommend or a guest for the show, you can suggest it there on the website. Or if you are in a space where you would love to have a conversation and share what's going on in your life spiritually, there's also an application process form there that you can click on as well. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you, everyone, for your comments and questions. Just so touching, and we're so happy to be here with you. Can't wait to be with you here again next week for another amazing guest. Please tune in. Set your reminder. This is always at 12 Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday. So please, before you go, subscribe, help us keep this coming to you. And thank you, Roger. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you,
And-
Mary. You were wonderful.
Oh, thank you I'm so honored. And if there is anybody out there that I can help, I'm willing to I'd love to have a phone call with anybody that needs or share how to heal the heart from trauma at this point in my life. And so I'm so honored to be here with you both. I have great respect and love for both of you. And I know this show is going to be my new favorite every week. So thank you.
All right. Thank you too. And thank you for sharing that opportunity. And may you all have an abundant spiritual day filled with kindness. And we'll see you again next week.
Aloha.
Welcome to I'm Spiritual But, starring the award-winning author and actress Anne Scottlin and globally renowned speaker and award-winning author Dr. Roger Leslie. I'm Spiritual But is a one-of-a-kind talk show about inclusive spirituality for religious and non-religious people alike. It's our vision to inspire everyone to discover their own unique spiritual experience. Email us at hello@imspiritualbut.com. We'd love to hear from you, or if you have a guest to recommend for the show. Thank you to USA Global TV, to our sponsors, and to all of you for spreading the word. And now, Anne Scottlin and Dr. Roger Leslie.